Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Our next speaker is Dr. Michelle DeLoach. If you have any questions during her presentation, please feel free to enter those into the chat at the bottom of the Zoom room screen, and we'll address them at the end. Without further ado, here is Dr. DeLoach with I've Got Questions.
So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michelle DeLoach, and I am an adjunct professor at J. Sargent Reynolds Community College. I'm also the secondary math specialist in Chesterfield County Public Schools, and it's a pleasure to be with you this afternoon. So yeah, I have questions, right? So thank you guys for joining me and participating in this session. My first question, didn't want to go that way, just want to scroll down. If you have at your fingertips, your telephone, if you don't mind, go ahead and taking a picture of this QR code right here, because it's asking you a quick question, you know, to try to warm up the room a little bit. This is my first question for you guys. If you don't have your phone, let me see if I can go to the chat here and I can type in, make sure it's going to go to everyone. This enter. There you go. See if you guys can answer this quick question for me, and I'm going to go over to voting. There's only a few of us in the room, but let's see what you guys have to say about that. Let me know if you are unable to go to the Mentimeter. The chat. This is what you guys should see. What's one of the oddest things you've done while attending a Zoom meeting? I put exercise and my results should have come up. Anybody want to chime in? I'll go back to my screen. Apologize. Okay, that was just a quick opening activity. There's only a few of us in the room, so I won't belittle the point, but I just wanted to kind of warm up the room a little bit because I know we're living in a land of Zoom, and sometimes we're distracted, right? So, and hence our students are sometimes distracted. So we do know that they're doing several things when we're having these online platforms. So the focus of today's my session is really, it says I've got questions, but really the focus of the session is to use questioning strategies to increase student discourse in mathematics classrooms. So how do we increase our student discourse? How do we increase students' ability to speak about their thinking and really to engage in their reasoning and really to have that productive struggle in the mathematics classroom? How can we gain, or how can we visualize and help them create a deeper understanding of mathematics? So my goal for this session, I have 3 goals. So my goal is 1, to define mathematical discourse and mathematical identity, to model how questioning techniques increase student discourse, identify norms that support discourse in mathematics classrooms, and explore, this is in the way, let me move that out of the way, and explore resources that support implementation. Okay. So first, so this particular quote is from Lev, I want to say, VMATYC. You know, we know that he is a philosopher, not a psychologist, basically. He is a psychologist on children development, right? So he has been known to support thought reasoning. And basically he says that how learners talk about mathematics reflects in part on what they understand about mathematics, and words are used as tools for building concepts, right? So we understand that when we have our students engage in explaining their thought and explaining their reasoning behind a concept, that really does increase their understanding of knowing and understanding the particular content. And basically words are toolkit into their understanding mathematics and their ability to analyze and make sense of mathematics concepts. And therefore those, the ability to make sense of mathematics concepts really do increase students' identity. So that is one of the reasons why I wanted to define mathematical discourse, then also look at mathematics identity and questioning. So questioning basically strengthens students' minds and invite their curiosity and promotes or provokes thinking and instill a sense of wonder and keeping students engaged. So I've taught not only face-to-face in middle school, high school, college level courses, but I also teach asynchronously now as well. So being able to teach in both face-to-face, online, synchronous or asynchronous classrooms, we have to attempt to keep the students engaged. So how do we keep people engaged unless we, unless we use additional tools to support that type of engagement? So that's why I propose that questioning is an opportunity to keep students engaged in the lesson and providing their, and promoting their sense of identity. So students learn to see themselves as capable or incapable of succeeding in math by the experiences that they have been exposed to in mathematics classrooms. So we know that as post-secondary mathematics educators, students have the same mathematics identity that they've had when they were in high school, right? So they're coming to us from high school, and if they feel like that they are weak in mathematics, then hey, they're going to continue with that identity unless we as a post-secondary educator attempt to change that and increase their ability to feel like that they are doers of mathematics. So one thing I'd like to know is if anyone could put in the chat, what was your mathematics identity when you were in college? Because not all of us, or even in high school, did you have a positive mathematics identity? Did you feel that, let me see if I can move this up now. Did you feel like that you've always loved mathematics? Were your parents good at mathematics and therefore you were good at mathematics? Or did you just like numbers? Anybody want to put in the chat? And feel free to kind of talk about your experience and your identity as a mathematician.
I didn't have a dislike for math. I didn't have a like for math. It was just in the middle until my high school teacher, my high school algebra 2 teacher. He was just quirky. He was just fun. He made you laugh. And it was just an enjoyable experience being in Catholic school and everything being so tight and going into his class and feeling so loose and fun and enjoying it. And I said, that's what math is about. I can get with that. So so that was my experience. My parents didn't have a thought about math. Not that they knew, once I hit high school, they couldn't do anything I could do anyway, even in English. So so that was my math experience.
So Shonda, thank you so much for sharing that experience. Thank you. So what I hear you saying is because your teacher had an inviting environment where you could express yourselves, right? Do you feel like that kind of made it like took the weight off you and say, hey, maybe I have an opportunity to explore more?
No, he just made me like it. And then I said, oh, okay, that seems like somewhere to go. Like I said, I didn't have a like or a dislike for it. So it didn't matter either way. I was like, I had to do something with my life. And after exposure with him, it was cool. Sorry, I didn't type it in the chat. I don't do chats
Oh, thank you.
during sessions. I don't allow myself to have the cameras off, so I don't do it either.
I appreciate that. I appreciate your honesty there. So I have someone else who's typed in the chat for me. Arnold said, I've always been curious about math and have been good at it. So I've always had been positive or have a positive mathematics identity. Wow, that's great. And Pamela said, I love numbers and patterns and surpassed my parents. This continued until I was hit multivariable calculus. All right, as a senior, I was managing until my really great teacher had to retire. Oh, okay. Okay, then I lost. So you lost confidence. So you had a great teacher who was really like engaging and like piquing your interest and everything. And then what I hear you saying, Pamela, that the teacher like wasn't as exciting, didn't motivate you at all, right? Thank you for sharing that. Deborah said I had a positive attitude about math. It made sense to me. I enjoyed the challenge. So I have something I want to share then. I'm glad you guys had awesome experiences with the mathematics, because as a high school student, I didn't have a positive mathematics identity. You know, it wasn't anything that intrigued me about mathematics or my teachers that promoted my ability to do better in high school. Now, in middle school, I did have a teacher who was enthusiastic and stood on the desk and was like, you know, very motivating, but he wasn't my math teacher. He was my social studies teacher. It wasn't until I got into college and had a group of, I guess I want to say colleagues or peers, if you will, who helped me learn to make connections with mathematics and to kind of build my identity and my ability to do better and more influence my understanding. So as educators, I guess I want just to kind of pull it all together. I know the importance that it is to have a inviting classroom and a classroom environment that really supports mathematical understanding and achievement, and really does empower students to feel confident as mathematics doers. I'm going to close this up and move forward. So this slide says, you know, it's all in the questioning. So, you know, we can foster an engaging classroom and not disadvantage those who are uncomfortable with raising their hands by students by getting them to be involved in critical thinking and critical questioning. Because not all students, you know, they may feel like they have the answer, but not everyone is an extrovert who's going to raise their hand, is going to ask questions. So it's very important that we try to pose questions to students that really do, you know, not what's your answer, you know, or what did you get, John? And, you know, John will say, well, I don't know. So that's, you know, or did you get the answer? That's a very, you know, lower level question that does not really bring out understanding for students. So I want us to participate in an activity in a few minutes, in a minute or two, but a part of the activity is it's going to be two activities basically. And you know, just like with any lesson that you guys have and you create in your classroom, you just gotta have some basic norms. I want you guys to, if possible, just stay engaged and intentionally connected. Listen with the intent to be influenced. Pose questions that challenge our thinking. Encourage each other to participate and remain open to learning something new. So one of the things that we're going to do right now is we're going to look at ideas that support mathematics identity before we move into our session, into our activity. So these are 4 things that support mathematics identity: fostering self-determination, cultivating self-regulation, establishing an engaging classroom, and capitalizing on social goals. Now, these are ideas from NCTM, and they're believing our students can do mathematics, a study on identity, agency, and authority. So with those ideas, I need to close this up. With those ideas about identity, about student identity, either come on live or place in the chat which one of these items don't belong. And the second part is do you agree or disagree with your counterpart when they place their solution in the chat? Which one doesn't belong? Okay, Deborah, you feel like explaining your reasoning? Or anyone for that matter, Arnold, anyone? Okay, thank you. So Deborah said that, hey, the dot doesn't belong because it doesn't represent the number 5. Thanks, Susan. Which one of these is not like the other? Yeah, right. So, and I think and Susan came back and said the blue one as well. And I believe if I scroll up here, I think it was, I'm reading the chats now. Arnold said you can say that any of them don't belong because they each have something different than the rest, right? So it's all about like an opportunity to kind of share out your thoughts about which one doesn't belong. We all can say something that you agree or disagree with one. Do you agree or disagree that, I think it was, Deborah said it was a single dot, right? This is a 1. A single dot. Someone else said that the blue doesn't belong, because of the color. That was their reasoning. I think the other person said the single dot because it's not the number 5, right? Which one doesn't belong? Do you agree or disagree? I'm going to go on. Which one of these doesn't belong? We got 4 equations. Anybody? Okay, Kim said y equals negative 2x plus 4. Anyone agree with her or disagree? Okay, one would say that the top left because it doesn't have a y-intercept. Great. So the purpose, guys, for me going through these 2 activities, one would say, oh, yeah, okay. One would say the top right because it doesn't have a number in front of the X. Love it, love it, love it. So notice how everyone has a different perception about the first activity, right? It was a blue die. It was the die that had the 1 dot. And in this particular example, which one doesn't belong? We're saying, hey, it's the first one because it doesn't have a y-intercept. It's the upper right because it doesn't have a coefficient. The bottom left because the coefficient is negative, right? just like the invisible zero on the y-intercept. So these are what we call low stakes activities that increase student engagement and also increase students' sense of mathematics identity, right? Because they are opportunities for us to kind of share out our thoughts about an activity without being wrong. Because like someone said in the first activity, well, like all of them are different, but all of them are right. So there's no wrong there's no wrong solution, and there's no wrong answer to these which one doesn't belong activities, because the intent really is to be able to build up that space, the classroom environment, and build up the norms in an environment that really do support students' thinking and their ability to kind of think out loud about mathematics. So it's never a bad idea to incorporate such what we call these as number sense routines into an opening activity or somewhere in your lesson where students have autonomy to kind of think out loud about the activity. This last one right here, we could say, students could say so many different things about which one of these doesn't belong, but this would be more into, if you really wanted to pull out some academic vocabulary, students could start talking about, the quadratic, it's a positive, it's negative, it has no solution, it has one solution, it has many solutions. So these types of activities can really increase an instructor's ability to really hone in on what students really know about systems of equations, and how can you continue to build on what they know to move them forward into their academic learning. Any thoughts there? Okay, and even with those types of activities, I wanted to mention that when we have those which one doesn't belong activities, it's always good to have questioning stems or some type of questioning already written down, so that you can know how to continue the conversation with students as they move forward. So basically, asking effective questions increase students' learning in mathematics. We know that. So we know that instead of just showing students what to do in our lectures, or by showing them step-by-step strategies, we can employ questioning strategies that allow them to become active participants in solving the equations. So we can change or modify our instructional practices to increase student engagement and increase students' ability to solve problems, really to enhance their ability to have a deeper understanding about the concepts that we're speaking about. So again, these three activities that I just demonstrated are really opportunities to identify ways that support student identity. How do you foster self-determination? How do you cultivate self-regulation, establish and engage in classroom, and capitalize on social goals? Those are the things that we would have to kind of think about when we're developing or increasing student identity with embedding quality questioning tools. So what I wanted to do, but there are only a few people in this session, what I really wanted to do is be able to put you guys in a breakout room, but because there are a few of us here, I wonder if you guys could just think, when you have access, let's see, I may have to copy access to this doc right here. I want to give you guys access to this document for a second. So you don't have to go into a breakout room, but I'd like you to just jot down for me, if you will, any thoughts about anything you've done in the past to support student identity. So what I'm doing right now is making sure that I am putting the document in the chat for everyone. So here's access to this self identity document. We're not going to do a breakout session, but can you guys just hop in there? Because I'm really interested in knowing what else are you guys doing to support student agency and maybe quality questioning and like establishing norms in your classroom. Can you guys just type whichever box you want to type in? I'd love to see that. In this document, you guys can then have, as a point of reference, because if your colleagues are doing something different, I mean, I want to learn from you guys, so I'm definitely going to keep the documents and see if there's anything that I can embed or use in my instruction as well. So I'll give you a minute. And yeah, do you have access? That's a question. How about now? I've updated the access. Okay, thank you. I think I'm going to add something as well. Let's see. Thank you guys for indulging me in this little activity. I absolutely love the reflection paragraphs. Never thought about that before, having a student to just kind of write out what they struggled with. Like, do you, I'm not sure who was writing that, but would you like to kind of share out exactly what else do you do? Is this at the end of an assessment or like just a unit to kind of gauge what students know, and then you do you change your instruction? Go
Used to be it was
ahead.
at the end of assessments, but now I do one weekly. I do one weekly and at the end of each assessment. So sometimes I have two in one week. The weekly one is just letting them go back. Okay, what did we talk about this week? What did you enjoy? What did you find struggle with? What do you think you need to get more help on? And then the one after test were which areas were your weaknesses, which areas were your strengths. You know, do you feel like you studied enough? Should you study more? What are you going to do differently to bring up your grade the next one if you scored less than what you wanted, things like that.
And with that feedback that you gather from students, then thank you for sharing out. Then do you change your lesson, or do you just independently work on with a few students?
Both. Sometimes I change up my plan and go, okay, let's talk about, enough people said this, let's take a second and talk about it. Other times I try working on one. Sometimes it's just, okay, I can't fix it this semester. We've got to stay on pace, but I can know to plan next semester that if enough of these students are struggling, then maybe I need to spend more time on that next semester, or think of a different way I can explain it.
Thank you. Thank you. I love it. I love it. Anyone else? So that wasn't you as well, Pamela, with the second one under there, students have math anxiety.
No, that was,
Oh, they have to say it again.
that was not me.
So anybody would like to add to that? Students have to take a math anxiety test. This tool to help them along with it. Oh, is that I didn't know about that.
I'm sorry, that's mine.
Hey, talk to me a little bit about that.
Yes, it's a link that my students have to, they actually have to write a one-page paper at the beginning of the class semester. It's their first assignment. I give them a link, they go to the website, and on the website, there are questions that are asked, and they have to calculate their score, and it tells them whether they have math anxiety or not. But also on that same website, there is a link for note-taking tools, test taking tools, studying tools, all of that, that they have to all implement, and that's let them know these are the things you have to have in the paper. So they have an idea of, okay, even if I don't have math anxiety, I have to know some note-taking tools or some test studying tools that I have to look up. And a lot of the students at first, they're reluctant because they're like, this is not an English class, it's a math class. It's just a one-page paper. But after they do it, and then they also have to share their experiences with math. So I get a lot of students who talk about that bad teacher that they had that made them scared of math. Or just the fact that they were trying to live up to their parent who was extremely doing good in math and they couldn't. So you get the stories on or the backgrounds on the student, and then they say, oh, well, this was really helpful because I'd never thought about doing this when I was taking notes, or I never thought about studying this many days before, just little things that they may get in their maybe should have gotten in their what I used to call freshman seminar class. It gives them a chance to get that.
That's awesome. I like that. Hey, so, I'm interested in knowing what the link is. So are you willing to share the link with the team? Like you can put it right here under your little box.
Yes, I sure can. I'll type it right in the, I'll type it right in the box.
I'm all about learning from one another, and that would be a phenomenal tool. I would love to, just kind of lean into that a little bit more and see how I could use it either with myself, my students, or even share out with other educators, so that is absolutely awesome.
Okay, I'm gonna add it right in the chat.
Thank you. Add it in, and can you also add it on our page also? Because when we link, Yeah, when we leave this particular session, then the chat's gonna go away, but you guys are still gonna have access to this page.
Okay, okay, I'll put it right up in there.
Anyone else who'd like to add something that you think we would benefit from? Caring is, look, sharing is caring, right? So there's another person who added something about having group activities, having students work on problems together. Sometimes students have to come to the board. Anybody want to add a little bit more to that comment? I think all of these activities, we are really supporting student identity, but by doing different things and utilizing different strategies. I added under capitalizing on social goals that allow students to explain their thinking and demonstrate their steps differently. So it's probably the same thing with in the engaging and establishing engaging classroom. I probably could have put it over there as well. But really, you know, when students are in groups like this person said on the right here, and they're talking to one another and they're working together and they're writing on the board, then it does increase that environment where they're feeling like they're a community of learners, basically. And if they're wrong, then they, you know, of course, prior to that, the teacher needs to create some type of norms for the classroom where the students are able to share out their ideas and everything. So that kind of brings me back to our presentation on like these norms that I'm sharing out right here are from NCTM on orchestrating discourse. These are orchestrating discourse classroom norms, whereas the teacher has a specific types of norms, right? Where they pose these questions that really challenge their thinking to create these groups or activities where the students are, you know, completing different tasks, or it's not just a question that has just a yes or no or right or wrong answer, that we as teachers that we're listening carefully and we're monitoring and trying to understand where the students are coming from and what those misconceptions are. And we're encouraging one another, the students, to participate, even if it says if you're asking the students to repeat something, because when we're asking a student to repeat what their classmates said, it really does mean that they were listening. And that is an expectation that you listen to your colleagues and your classmates, and that with the intent to try to understand where they're coming from. So that's from the teacher perspective. And then we have from the student's role, you know, listening and responding, using a variety of tools to reason and make connections and solve problems, and to be able to communicate out their thinking. Those are just parts of the types of things that we have that I have listed here as norms. I know you guys have, I'm sure you have norms that you use in your classroom to really help promote that classroom environment where students are really feeling comfortable and can share out their thinking practices as well. I can't believe that was very quick. So I did have just this teacher discourse, like the resources. So these resources that are listed here were identified throughout the presentation. So I just wanted to make sure that I'm not sure if we're sharing this presentation out to everyone, but certainly if that's the case, I did utilize quite a few voices from the field and some different questioning strategies that really increase student discourse in our classrooms. I really appreciate the time that you guys have spent with me. It's only been a few minutes, but I really appreciate you're really willing to come on and kind of articulate your thoughts and share out different strategies. And I even appreciate the link that you guys have shared with me. So, you know, when I'm in the classroom, I really do think I'm a comedian. I think I'm the best thing out there. You guys have been awesome. I appreciate you chiming in with me. It has not been rough. This has been a great time with you guys. Again, my name is Dr. Michelle DeLoach, and my email address is here. I'm at Reynolds. You can follow me on IG or Twitter. Thank you.